Good afternoon. Welcome to EduSet Network. Friend, as you know, in other lectures we have discussed the evolution of parliament in India, parliamentary setup, how function in Indian context. And as you know, the today topic which we have mentioned, the legislative oversight of South Asian experiences, but we will make some modification here because we have done in Indian setup. So today we will try to understand how the legislative procedure is following in India, the different committees, different control over the other institutions are being done by the by the parliaments, and budgetary process. We will discuss first in Indian setup. Then in tomorrow lecture we will talk about the South Asian experience. And for discussion on this very topic, we have in studio Mr. Gyan Ranjan Panda. He is a program officer in one of the leading think tank in Delhi and have keen interest in the South Asian parliamentary setup. Try to understand and how to function. He is making a comparison of all this. So I think his knowledge and experience will help us to understand this legislative oversight in a new dimension, and will also give a new insight. So on your behalf, I welcome Mr. Panda for the EduSet lecture on the topic legislative oversight. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, viewers. Today we will have a lecture on legislative oversight in India with reference to the upcoming budget session, because the budget is constitute very crucial aspect of our governance. So for that, to understand the budget, budget is not only the exercise of executive, though it is considered as executive budgeting, because mostly the executive has its own right and power to make the budgets. But fact of the matter is that there are various constituents which exercise a very significant amount of power or control over in the making and also in the enactment and also in the implementation of budget. If you consider the understand whole system of parliamentary system in India, we found there is two major constituent which is always in tussle. That means they always checkmate each other, and they try to prove a point against another, that is legislature and executive. This is generally seen most of the countries which follow the Westminster model of democracy. That is, in Westminster model of democracy, the legislature exercise very significant amount of power, and executive as a part of legislature, always always succumb to the powerful legislature. But in most of the time, as in the case of Westminster model, executive, the head of the executive, that is Prime Minister, always get upper hand over the legislature, because the party in power, the party which has most of the number in the legislature, form the government. So it becomes very difficult for legislature to to evict executive from the from the power. And this diagram suggests that executive is part of legislature. Now come to the case of budget process. But I am taking budget as a case study, because if you consider the three important sessions of the parliament, budget session is always important session in the parliament. So take the case of budget session and see how legislative oversight is important. Let's take the certain global instances where legislature play a various degree of influence in the public budgeting. One is budget making legislature. Here the legislature has the capacity to amend or reject or to substitute budget proposal of the executive. There are two countries which exercise this kind of budget making power, that is Sweden and United States. Second is budget influencing legislature. Here the legislature has the capacity to amend or reject but lack the capacity to formulate an alternative budgets. Here if the countries which follow this kind of model are Italy and Netherlands. Third, the power of the legislature with little budget role. This case, the legislature has the lack the capacity to reject or amend executive budget proposal substantively, but can debate and discuss part of the budget proposal at length. The countries which follow this model of this model are Westminster model, and here I just want to make a point here that UK and India follow the Westminster model of legislature. Take the case of overview of union budget in parliament. The Constitution of India has made the union executive accountable to the people's representative body, and as the executive is accountable to the people's representative body, then legislative will is significant in the context that the executive cannot divest, cannot spend a single money without the consent of legislature. Not a rupee from public money can be spent without the authorization of the parliament. And if you can go back to the history, there is a one principle that is no taxation without representation, and this principle, under this principle, no tax can be levied or collected except by the authorization of parliament. In India, particularly, budget is introduced and passed only by the lower house, that is Lok Sabha, which is a democratically elected representative body. Rajya Sabha has little power. But as we understand the legislative oversight, we found that there are in the two houses, in both the houses, in the general times, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha exercise equal amount of power. But while coming to budget, only Lok Sabha has significant amount of power compared to Rajya Sabha. And when this legislature, when the budget is presented in the legislature, that is in Lok Sabha, it is the only place where union budget is, when union budget goes public, it is discussed and analyzed. And after these things, the legislature give the sanctity to the executive budget proposals, and also monitor and fix the accountability whenever there is any problem with regard to public budgeting. But in most of the cases, take the case of certain bill or act which is not considered as a money bill or finance bill, then the both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has equal amount of power. They can both discuss, they can take substantial amount of time to to deliberate. The bills and motions, whatever, in that context, that goes to the standing committee. That even the both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, members of the both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they discuss in the standing committee. After that, they report back to their respective houses, and then discuss. And after that, there is a larger discussion on the floor of the house. Then, if Rajya Sabha votes and Lok Sabha reject, then the bill cannot be act. In that case, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has equal amount of power. But with regard to budget, as the 2011-12 budget is coming, we found that in the constitution is there, in the language of constitutions, only Lok Sabha has significant amount of power than Rajya Sabha. There are certain terms which is used in the constitutions, that is that, but with regard to the budget, particularly the term budget is not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution of India. The term used instead is annual financial statement. There is a distinction between revenue expenditure from expenditure required by the constitutions, and there is also distinction between charge expenditure and appropriated expenditure. Important terms such as money bill, appropriation bill, a supplementary grants, vote on accounts, vote of credit, and exceptional grant and finance bills, these terms have been quite used in the constitutions. There are, if you go back to the various budget document which is there, which is introduced in the parliament, we found that most of the, while considering budget, most of the budget document are legal documents which has to be introduced in the parliament. One such, when the foreign finance minister introduced budgets, that considered as budget speech, that is also a legal document. Another document which is referred in the in the annual in the document, that is annual financial statement. Then demand for grants, appropriation bill, and finance bill. These are constitutional document has to be introduced, but there are certain documents which is considered as a just requirement, policy requirement. One is memorandum explaining the provision in the finance bill. Second is macroeconomic framework for the relevant financial year. Third is fiscal policy strategy statement for the financial year. Then medium-term fiscal policy statement. Then expenditure budget volume 1, volume 2. Then receipt budget and budget at a glance, highlights of a budget, and finally the status of implementation announcement made in the finance minister's budget speech of the previous financial year. This slide shows that there are various, this is the cycle of the budget in the parliament. As we have referred that this lecture is very significant in the sense that as budget, the upcoming budget is coming, we must understand how the budget in the parliament generally, the cycle of the budget in the parliament take place. Once the Minister of Finance introduced budget in the Lok Sabha, it takes, on the same day there is no discussion takes place. It almost will take 4 to 5 days to start the general discussion, and this spread generally 3 to 4 days, and deals in general the general aspect of the budget. During this time, the discussion never goes into the details of the budget, and the third stage, that is this detailed discussion and voting on sectoral demand for grants. During this stage, the discussion expenditure part of the budget take place, and department related standing committee minutely examine various demands, and during this time, another oversight tool that is in the hand of the parliament, that is court motion. This court motion is introduced during this stage, and after detailed discussion sectoral demand for grants, then it goes finally for final voting and the approval of the budget. let's understand the union budget introduction in the parliament. The budget is presented on the last day of February. It's a convention. Before that, when there is in the mid-March it was presented. So, but after some days, now it has been a convention that budget is presented on the last day of February. It is first table only in the Lok Sabha, and on the same day, a copy of the budget is laid in the Rajya Sabha also. But what the important aspect of this day is that there is no discussion take place on the same day of budget presentation, and once the budget is presented, finance minister introduces the finance bill, and which contains the taxation proposal. And after this discussion, after this budget presentation, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha get adjourned for some days. Once this budget is presented, there are three stages of budget session. One is general discussion stage, second is detailed discussion stage, and third is voting and final approval of the union budget. Let's understand the first stage. The discussion on the budget starts from a general debate and it's spread to 3 to 4 days in both the houses of parliament. Convention is that at this stage, members deal with the general aspect of the fiscal and economic policy of the government, and they do not go into the details of the taxation and expenditure proposal because they have less time, and also the whole almost all 550 members cannot discuss the detail of the budget proposal. So under these things, during this stage, after general discussion, they send it to the committee system to examine these things. And important aspect of this stage is that Rajya Sabha has no scope to discuss the union budget beyond the general discussion stage. The second stage is detailed discussion. Detailed discussion on the demand for grants submitted on behalf of all union government ministry. Demand for grants are related to the expenditure part of the budget and are also in the nature of request to the Lok Sabha to approve it. As Lok Sabha doesn't get the required time to discuss and analyze the demands minutely, it sent them to various concerned departmental related standing committee to scrutinize and report back to the Lok Sabha. The detailed discussion on the demands is supposed to be in depth, and the policy and the working of ministry too also comes under the scrutiny of the department related standing committee. During this discussion, the member can disapprove a policy pursued by the ministry, or the member can suggest measures for the economy in administration, and also can draw attention of the ministry with regard to a specific grievances. During this discussion, the parliamentary term court motions is applied, and with these court motions, members in general, they start discussing the detailed aspect of the budget. Then after this detailed discussion on demand for on departmental demand for grants, each demands of the particular ministry comes under voting of the Lok Sabha, and they either approve it or they say they reject it. But generally what happens, there is a trade-off between opposition members as well as the ruling party members, and in most cases the ruling party, because of their having numbers in the Lok Sabha, they go through this discussion very successfully. The third stage is voting and final approval of the budget. The Business Advisory Committee of the Lok Sabha fixes a time limit for the voting of a particular demand and for all demand for grants included in the budget. As soon as this time limit for a demand is over, the term closure is applied and demand for various ministries are put to vote. And this process is called as guillotine. This guillotine in parliamentary term is the end of the road for a particular demand for grants. Then all charged and voted expenditure of demand for grants incorporated under appropriation bills and puts for vote in the Lok Sabha. Once the guillotine is applied, no amendment can be proposed once appropriation bill goes for voting. Appropriation bill, once passed in the Lok Sabha, gets the certification of the Speaker as money bill and is then sent to Rajya Sabha for its approval. Rajya Sabha has no power to delay it, beyond or delay or reject the bill. It has only power to consider within the 14 days of constitutional given time limit, and it has to send it back to the Lok Sabha. If it is not sending it back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, it is considered that the bill is the budget has got Rajya Sabha approval. Now let's see that there are three court motions which is very significant in the sense that this is a very significant oversight tool in the hand of parliaments. There are three court motions. One court motion is that the amount of demand be reduced to 1, and that this implies that the mover who moves these court motions approves of the policy underlying the demands. Second court motion is called as economic court, and the amount of the demand is reduced to a particular specific amount, and the movers who move these court motions seeks changes that affect the economy observed in the expenditure. Third motion is considered as token court, and the amount of demands is being reduced to raise 100, and that means the mover is likely to voice a particular grievance for which government is responsible. And as you know that in most of the cases, the Lok Sabha members though moves various court motions, they think that though moves various court motions, it is considered that it won't pass through the absolute majority in the parliament, because this is a motion which start the discussion. It simply cannot get the final approval of the parliament. If it gets the final approval, that means the voting in the parliament, then executive resigns. So most of the time, there is no such incident in India where the parliament has given its final nod on the court motions. So it is just to start a discussion, and that this discussion attracts maximum media scrutiny, also the public attention. So the opposition in particular uses these motions significantly during budget session. Now let's go to the the oversight mechanism through parliamentary standing committees. As we have said before, during any bill, whether it is a finance bill or a non-monetary bills, or money bill or non-monetary bills, this goes to the standing committee. Standing committee is a eye and ears of the parliament. In most of the time, there are 24 standing committee in the parliament, and they are charged with the task of considering demand for grants, they examine bills referred by the chairman or speaker. They consider annual report of the ministries, and they also consider any policy document referred by the chairman and speaker. And this, within having this function in their kitty, they examine most of the policy as well as the policy decision of the government, as well as the legislation and the acts which is amendment or motions as introduced by the government. And this 24 standing committee, this is not a the 24 standing committee is not with the Lok Sabha alone. There are certain committees which are also with the Rajya Sabha, and like Minister of Human Resource Development, the Standing Committee of Health and Family Welfare, they are with the Rajya Sabha, whereas the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Standing Committee on Defence, Standing Committee on Rural Development, they are with the Lok Sabha. And each of the Standing Committee has a member from both the houses. Mostly Standing Committees are having 31 nominated members, and 21 are from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. And the chairmanship of a particular Standing Committee goes to that houses which is which constitute that Standing Committee. Like the chairmanship of Finance Committee, Standing Committee on Finance, comes from Lok Sabha, whereas the chairmanship of Social Justice Empowerment, Standing Committee on Social Justice Empowerment, comes from the Rajya Sabha. And more significant feature of the Standing Committee is that no minister is eligible for being either elected or nominated to in the Standing Committee. Lok Sabha cover 16 Standing Committee. These Standing Committees are Agriculture, Rural Development, Social Justice Empowerment, Urban Development, Food and Consumer Affairs and Public Distribution. Rajya Sabha has 8 Standing Committee, and most notable Standing Committee in the Rajya Sabha are Health and Family Welfare, Human Resource Development, Science and Technology, Environment and Forest. There are other Standing Committees which is called other Parliamentary Standing Committees. The numbers are quite big, that is 16, and the empowerment of women and welfare of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes are part of other Parliamentary Standing Committees. And in most cases, the Standing Committee has membership from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Apart from Standing Committee, there are 3 significant committee which is that's called as financial committees, and there are 3 financial committees. One is estimate committees, another is public account committee, which is right now under limelight, and third is committee on public undertakings. The main function of estimate committee is that it reports what economics improvement in organization, particularly efficiency or administrative reforms, need to be undertaken. Second is it suggests alternative policies in order to bring about efficiency and economy in the administration. Third, it examines whether the money is well laid down within the limits of the policy implied in the estimates. There are certain functions which is quite crucial to the important Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee, and the main function of the PAC, Public Account Committee, is to examine of the statement of account showing the appropriation of sum granted by the Parliament for the expenditure of the Government of India. Second is that it examines the annual financial accounts of the government and also other accounts laid before the House as the government may think fit. And third, it scrutinizes the appropriation account of the Government of India and other report of the Controller Auditor General of India. If you go to the recent news that the Parliament Public Account Committee is now hugging limelight, It is because the Controller Auditor General of India, which is a constitutional body, it submits the audit report to the Parliament, and Parliament on the other hand direct this report for the examination of Public Account Committee. And as we see that the corruption case in 2G and 3G cases, and it is now after the audit finding of the Controller Auditor General, it has gone to the Public Account Committee, and Public Account Committee in particular is making certain kind of hearing. Let's see this table. It gives a bird eye view of the important functioning of important committees of Parliament. There are various committees which is there in this table, that is Committee on Agriculture, Committee on Rural Development, Committee on Social Justice Empowerment, Committee on Food, Consumer Affairs and Public Distribution, Public Account Committees and Estimates Committees. The first 4 committees are standing department related standing committees, and last 2 committees are considered as finance committees. In the second row, I have given the date of the constitutions, that is on the date of constitution is 5/8/2007, and there is a number of sitting is only 5 sitting. The Committee on Agriculture had only 5 sitting on the in the tenure of 5th August 2007 to 5th August 2008, and it had only duration of 13 hours 25 minutes, and the average of the attendance by the committee member was 46%. And the second committee is Committee of Rural Development, very important department related standing committee, and they had only 7 sittings, and the total duration of the sitting was 14 hours 15 minutes, and the average member attendance is almost 55% or 54.5%. And the Committee of Social Justice Empowerment had only 6 sitting, very negligible amount of time they spent, that is 9 hours, and they had only almost 40%, which is half of less than half of the members attendance. And the fourth is that very significant with regard to examining government policy on food security, inflation, as well as kind of scarcity of food. That is, they had only 3 sittings, and they had very negligible amount of time they spent, that is 8 hours 3 minutes, and the average attendance is 40%. And there are 2 standing committees which is really in mess, that is Public Account Committees, that is having only 3 sitting, and total duration is 1 hour 45 minutes, and average attendance is 51%. And Estimate Committee is having only 2 sittings and 1 hour 10 minutes duration of the meeting, and 35% is its average attendance. There are 2 other committees which is very significant. One is Committee on Government Assurance, and third is Committee on Petitions. This committee on government assurance, it is scrutinizes the assurance and promises undertaking given by the government to the Parliament. That means even the government is giving, the executive is giving certain kind of assurance on the floor of the house, it has to maintain it. And the member of the Parliament has the power to scrutinize those assurance, whether this assurance is right or wrong, whether the government has followed it off with absolute integrity or just lied in on the floor of the house. The executive cannot lie on the floor of the house, and that is why there is a Committee on Government Assurance. It sits during recess time or during off time of the Parliament, and they see whether the government assurance is actually implemented or not. And third is Committee on Petitions. If it is considered a report on petition presented to the House, it is very important parliamentary committee where the public in general they can give certain kind of petition against government, and that petition can be given in the Parliament only, and the Parliament as a as a public body, it can examine those petitions, and that is why. And this committee on petition comes from the Westminster model of parliament, which is followed in the UK, and this committee can scrutinize those petitions, can ask the government to make representations in those committees, and can give the report to the Lok Sabha about the petitions. Let's take about this graphs. If you go to this graph, you can find that the data are available from 1952 to 2008, and most of the time taken for general discussion demand for grants of union budget, this graph depicts those two things. And the blue graph is significantly declining over the years. That is demand for grants, that is detailed discussion on demand for grants, and the general discussion is still having the same pace, though after the era of coalition, that means from 90s onward, the discussion on detailed demand for grants has gone down significantly, because when India started with the coalition politics, there is a lot of political issues which is being discussed in the parliament, that is killing most of the precious time of the Lok Sabha over the budget. These statistics will give you certain kind of information with regard to budget session during 14th Lok Sabha. There are in the serial number section, you can find there is 5 budget which is presented on different dates, and the budget session period is also given in the table. And if you can see that there is a lot of the time which is allocated for the budget session is mostly more than 50 days. And in the first session there is 53 days, and second session in 78 days, third budget is 49 days, fourth budget on 84 days, and fifth session is 71 days. It means that the parliament has taken due notice of the time that is required to scrutinize a budget. But because of certain political and because of some political reasons, the actual days of sitting has gone down compared to the allocated dates. That means in most of the time, it's almost less than 50% of the allocated days has been discussed, has been in the process. That is, in the first budget, there are 24 actual days out of 53 days, and in the second budget session, 38 days. Actually, the parliament had an actual sitting of 38 days out of allocated days of 78, and the third budget session has been bit better. That is, actual days of sitting was 35 and the allocated days were 49, and the fifth budget session is really very pathetic, in the sense that the actual days of sitting is 28 while the allocated days is 71. The total number of hours of sitting has also been very negligible, as it is only tallied with the actual days of sitting. Now you can see the 2004 to 2010. This is the budget session under UPA in Lok Sabha, and number of full general budget under UPA, that is, they are in the total 7 budget they have. They are going to present the 8th budget of the UPA, and the budget session, the timing is also there. The time spent on general discussion is also very, at least one full day they have not discussed it, and the time spent on discussion of voting and demand for grants is also going corollary with the time spent on general discussion. And this discussion and voting and demand for grants, number of ministry and departments which are actually being discussed in the parliament, that is on an average only 3. In the first budget session of the UPA, they had
the budget of departmental budget was quite nil, and second was 4, third budget 3, 3, then subsequently 4, 5, 3, and on an average, if you put it, it is a 3 only. And the guillotine, the number of guillotine applied in the ministry and department budget of various ministry and department budgets is very significant. That means most of the budget, departmental budget, are being passed by the parliament without voting and without discussion. And the time spent for guillotine is just a 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and on the last budget session, they took 19 minutes to say yes to all, the demand for grants of all ministries. Now, let's come to another oversight rules, that is the question hour. There are 3 types of questions generally the parliamentarians they used to follow. That is, one is start question, another is on start question, another is the last one is short notice questions. And the start questions, in the start questions, the government only gives the oral answer to the house, and it is basically distinguished by other question through a asterisk mark. When a question is answered orally, a supplementary question can be asked, and there is instances that only 20 questions can be listed on a specific business day. And second is on start question, and here the member whenever they asked a particular questions, the government came back with the written answer. No supplementary question can be asked to a on start questions. There are only 230 questions on start question can be listed on a specific day. Here the minister is not supposed to answer this question through orally. Rather, they can put the answer in written form, and you can find those on start questions from the ministry website, also press information from the website of Press Information Bureau, even from the website of Parliament of India. And third important question, that is a short notice questions. It is particularly related to matter of urgent public importance and can be asked with shorter notice. Orally, the minister and the government can answer these short notice questions orally, and they can face the supplementary question from the member of parliament. This table will give you a glimpse of how many questions have been listed, how many questions in different budget session. During first budget session of in 2004, 461 start question is listed. On start question is much more, because 4,455, and short notice questions were not listed. And most of the budget session, the short notice questions were not listed. And in most of the time, the on start question, because the government has to give a written answer, it is not the particular minister should not give this answer orally in the floor of the house. That is why the number of on start questions listed in the in a particular session is much higher than start question listed. Then total time spent for general budget in the 14th Lok Sabha, there are the same time frame, and the total time spent for general budget is 19 hours 28 minutes in the first budget of the UPA, and the second budget of the UPA that goes up significantly, that is 33 hours 41 minutes. Third budget 33 hours 42 minutes. Fourth budget significant better than third budget, that is 34 hours 41 minutes, and fifth budget 42 hours 48 minutes. And the total time spent for Lok Sabha business during this budget session is compared to NDA is not that much significant. And the first budget is 92 hours, and second budget is 212 hours, and third is 194 hours and 55 minutes. Fourth is 127 hours 4 seconds, and fifth is 162 hours and 9 minutes. And percent of total Lok Sabha time taken is very insignificant during budget session. That is this signifies that most of the time there is an interruption, and there is an adjournment of the Lok Sabha and Parliament due to political reason. There are certain glaring problems one can while discussing about parliamentary oversight in India. One is the absenteeism of members during budget session, and not only budget session, maximum time in most of the session there is a rampant absenteeism of members. Second is that there is a lot of political matter which is being discussed on the floor of the House, and it need to be checked significantly, because the Parliament has has very significant power of control over executive action. If the politics of the day rule hold the situation, then executive gets a very easy way of passing this parliamentary control. Third, no parliamentary control of borrowing of the government. The government power of borrowing need to be checked, and there should be a certain kind of constitutional amendment through which the Parliament can exercise control over government borrowing. Then the subject and ministry-based standing committee take much longer time to study the detailed demands for grants. They had, they should report it back as soon as the budget session, within the budget session also. And once they report back, there will be certain kind of discussion, and on that discussion the executive has to submit a action taken report. So the standing committee need to push themselves a bit more, so that they can examine the subject or the budget of a particular department within time. Then observation are submitted by department related standing committees are mere advisory value, and government doesn't, government is not mandatory to to follow them. So in that case, it is only the advisory, the recommendation quite advisory in that sense. And the no standing committee to study the macroeconomic perspective of the budget. So even the national, what is happening at the macro level of economy, the Parliament hardly had any power to control those things. And there are certain suggestions that adjournment motions need to be used sparingly, very occasionally need to be used. There's a compulsory party whip should be enforced against absenteeism and disturbance of budget disturbance of any session for political reasons should be stopped. Then recess period between the budget need to be properly used by the standing committee, and most of the time the member of the standing committee should also attend the regular meeting of the department related standing committee. And then most of the time we have seen the use of guillotines of the department of the demand for grants need to be that need to be checked. And mostly the demand for grants of social sectors, the Parliament should have enough power to discuss those things. If they won't be discussing the detailed demand for grants or demand for grants of particular ministry, the executive will get an upper hand over the legislature. Thank you.
Okay, you talked about there are many cuts which can be used while having discussion on the budget sessions. So, what about the policy cut we introduced in this while having discussion on the budget?
See, the policy cut is considered as a it's a part of the same cut motions. When you are following a particular policy, that is the Parliament has the power of disapproving it, and that means that if you have a demand for grants of a particular ministry, that Ministry of Finance, the opposition member can push a policy cut by saying that we will be reducing your total amount only to
by 1 rupee.
1 rupee. So in that case, it's a very significant value. Even they know it clearly that the government is not going to reverse the policy or because they have the number.
Yeah.
And but to discuss, to start the discussion, it's very significant, for in the hand of the opposition member to have to introduce the political measures.
And the other differences which you said, that general discussion happen in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha, and general discussion in the Raj Sabha, and the detailed discussion
In the Lok Sabha.
in the Lok Sabha. What is difference in all this? Only just for
See, what I said when I presented, I said it that on non-monetary bill, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha has equal power. And with regard to the money bill, the Lok Sabha has upper hand over Rajya Sabha. So both can start general discussion on budgets. But while coming into detailed discussion, the Lok Sabha has the power to make the detailed discussion. So because it gets the certificate of the speaker that is a budget is a money bill.
And is this mandatory to conduct this debate before the 1st of April? Because what is presented
Financial
in the budget, financial that get into get into action in execution from the 1st of April.
See, this is a OECD norms. That means you need to have 75 days of discussion in the parliament session. For parliamentary scrutiny, you have to have 75 days. Then, as in the context of India, we have our financial year start from the 1st of April. So when the budget is presented on the 28th of the February,
1 month, one month time we give.
Once they presented and general discussion is over, the parliament passed a vote on accounts, which authorized the executive to conduct the financial transaction of up to 3 to 4 months. Every year they get a vote on account for financial business of 3-4 months. Then once that means you have enough money to run the government of 3 to 4 months. And once this financial year starts, 1st of May, the executive get more time to examine the detailed discussion of a detailed demand for grants of a particular department. So it means that the parliament has the power to make lot of debate, and that makes the oversight mechanism more stronger. When you have more time, like take the case of Bangladesh, Pakistan, they have only 30 days, and even Nepal, Afghanistan, they have only 30 days time. So what will they do within these 30 days?
Okay. So well friends, we saw how the budget is passed in parliament, and the number of days for discussion is longer than the countries, neighboring countries like Pakistan, Bhutan and Bangladesh. We will have more discussion on the parliamentary setup and the parliamentary procedure in other countries in tomorrow lecture. So I think to conclude lecture here with these words, that you must have got benefited out of these lectures. So I thank all of you for watching this lecture, and on your behalf I thank Mr. Gyan Ranjan Panda for giving such an insightful lecture. Thank you.